If you have top layers that are only one gender, how do you expect that you can actually then solve these puzzles for society where it is a 50-50 split?
My first principle in life is about valuing self, valuing the family, and valuing something which is going to help the world.
If I had inherited a team there, I made sure that they are on board with me instead of just bulldozing with some decision. And I think that has worked for me.
We are assertive, we're not aggressive. And that's who we are. Our DNA is we are nurturing. We're not apologetic about it.
Welcome to the Zinnov podcast. You're listening to our Business Resilience series, where we bring to you conversations between eminent industry stalwarts and thought leaders from across the globe as they discuss their insights on overcoming challenges and the mindset that help them navigate the journey of crisis, resilience, and growth.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Woman in the Mirror. In this podcast series, we go beyond leadership titles to explore the real stories of women shaping industries. I'm your host, Nitika Goel, CMO at Zinnov. Today, we're diving into the healthcare industry, an arena where the stakes are incredibly high. The women you'll meet today do more than just lead teams. They introduce fresh perspectives, champion inclusivity, and lead with empathy. They're transforming how we think about healthcare and influencing everything from the boardroom to the hospital wards. Today, we're privileged to welcome three incredible women who are not just leaders but pioneers in healthcare. Lene Hylling Axelsson from Novo Nordisk, Kalavathi GV from Siemens Healthineers, and Mohua Sengupta from Novartis Corporate Center, India. Each has a unique story of triumph and innovation that has profoundly impacted the healthcare landscape. They inspire us with their commitment to inclusivity, empathy, and of course, their transformative leadership. So let's get personal and dive deep into their journeys. First up, we have the pleasure of speaking with Lene Hylling Axelsson, Senior Vice President of the Global Solutions at Novo Nordisk. Lene's journey in the pharmaceutical industry is a captivating blend of destiny and serendipity. Raised in a family deeply rooted in medical care, her father a doctor and her mother a nurse, it might have seemed predestined for her to follow a similar path. Yet, Lene carved her own unique trail.
So to your question, we're nearly actually getting close to 3 decades in the pharma industry, and some of it is a bit by coincidence, but for sure some of it was planned. So I'm out of a medical family. My father's a doctor, my mother's a nurse, and I'm too emotional. I didn't want to become either a doctor or a nurse, so I became an economist and businesswoman instead. But I wanted to go into pharma, and in particular because I'm out of a family with diabetes type 2, and my grandfather died from diabetes complications. One of the medium-sized companies and very interesting companies in Denmark was Novo Nordisk. And I applied, and I was so lucky to get in, and the rest is history, because every time I felt like now it's time to try something else, a new exciting opportunity came up. And I've been around operations both abroad and within the company, and I felt I've been developing all the way through. That's the reason why it's now nearly 3 decades in the pharma industry.
Lene has spent nearly 3 decades in pharma, and her career was almost inevitable. Inspired by her family's history of diabetes, she found her place at Novo Nordisk. Every challenge along the way has only helped her grow, and she's still not done. Kala's journey, on the other hand, wasn't planned. It's a classic case of life happening while you're busy making other plans. Transitioning from engineering to healthcare, she discovered her true purpose in the most unexpected place.
So I've been in this industry for close to 3 decades. It all started off when I finished my engineering. In fact, at that point in time, women in engineering were much lesser. Initially, just to take a true reflection, I was very interested in arts, music, dance, etc. And in fact, I wanted to pursue that, but my love for math and then my love for making a difference to multiple people put me back to engineering. Now, hindsight, extremely happy that I made my choice. And after that, I actually got married and spent the first 6 months in a place called Neyveli in Tamil Nadu. My husband was working there. So for the first 6 months, I really enjoyed serving the family and getting adjusted. But at the same time, the engineer in me was totally unrest. I've learned so much, I have to make a difference. And at that point in time, it was, I would say, coincidence that I joined healthcare. Now, close to 30 years. When I started off, I was more of an architect, very focused on the technical aspects of it. And someday I felt like I have to become a business leader because you will have much more control over influencing a bigger population. So I paved a path for myself in the States and took up some of the segment leadership roles in a new modality. It was called PETMR, which was new, focusing on the oncology segment, etc. And I'm still stuck to healthcare because I love the purpose. Because we are in the business to saving lives, to make a difference to life.
Shifting gears, my next conversation is with Mohua Sengupta, head of the Novartis Corporate Center in India. Mohua doesn't follow rules. She follows her gut. She thrives on the unexpected and takes on challenges that others shy away from. Let's hear how her remarkable journey has unfolded.
I was just going through my academics and all I cared was I had to get good grades. After that, when I started working, again, had a very short stint in Unit Trust of India, moved to US because I wanted to do MBA in US. Nothing more than that, didn't think about anything more. Left US right after my MBA and went to Canada because I loved Canada. And without knowing that in Montreal, if I have to work, I have to know French, I just jumped in Montreal. I was never a very good planner when it came to my career. I typically always, and even now, I follow my instinct. And then I think I just got lucky and that's how it started. I'm a finance, economics, accountant person, but my work life has pulled me to technology. The only thing I do is after something, I always look for a bigger challenge. So if one thing that you'll see that in my career, I've taken roles which are typically either to start something or there's a problem, fix it, or the company is at this level, let's take us to the next orbit.
As Eleanor Roosevelt once said, do one thing every day that scares you. That's the mantra Mohua lives by. She dives into challenges headfirst, whether it's starting something from scratch or turning a company around. After all, the real fun is in taking on something that scares you a little. Let's talk about challenges. Every leader faces them, but for these women, the stakes were often higher. Balancing career ambitions with family and dealing with the pressures of leadership in an industry where inclusivity was rare. Here's how they handled it.
I took up some of the roles which were challenging. Starting from being in the US, because that was the times when the multinationals were setting up their shops here and trying to leverage India. Initially, we started off like an outpost, ready to serve. Whatever is given to us as a software engineer, we need to make it. But slowly, the leader in me started to bring out what is the differentiation that the India folks can make. It's not just the cost, but the intellect that we bring to the table, right? I was technically working on something which would predict the CT tube life because CT tubes are the most expensive ones. So if you are able to predict the failures, you can increase the availability. That way you can serve many more patients. So I was working on that, but at the same time, I was trying to see how we can bring both the cultures together, the US culture and the India culture together to get the best out of it. I was also involved in the acquisitions. And finally, I was involved in getting some of the products from the global to be completely handled out of India from an end-to-end perspective. because healthcare is a global problem.
I have faced a lot of challenges very early on in my career. Early on, I shouldn't say career, early on in my life. You know, when you fail and you come out of it early, nobody should wish that, but it makes you stronger. In one of my earlier stints, I was asked to start consulting and domain group. And that was like from scratch. There was nobody. I was me, myself, and I started off with blueprinting. Suppose that most of the groups either I have started or I've taken over a company which is in trouble and they want to just come out of it and want somebody to come in and start everything right from strategy, from scratch. Today, people look for more, when they're younger, they look for vertical growth more. So for me, in my early years, more than vertical growth, my horizontal spread was more important. And I think in the long run, it has helped me, because when I have attained a certain age, I have already seen multiple areas of the business.
Kala and Mohua talk about a critical yet often overlooked aspect of career development: the fact that true leaders don't just merely ascend the corporate ladder, they curate a diverse portfolio of experiences. Authentic leadership involves embracing the broader vision and engaging with challenges that compel us to think outside the conventional framework. Now let's explore the elusive concept of balance, the one goal we're all tirelessly pursuing. For women, this pursuit often includes additional complexities: navigating professional ambitions, raising children, and caring for aging parents, all while walking a delicate tightrope. For our guests, mastering this juggle has been a lifelong endeavor, but each has carved out her unique path to equilibrium. Lene, for example, has mastered the art of setting boundaries, often with little help from her youngest daughter, who has a knack for keeping her grounded and present when life gets overwhelming.
Now, I'm a mother of 3. and I have a husband and a dog and elderly parents, so I know everything about trying to balance. And I have to disappoint everybody and say it's a constant struggle. Even when you get to my age and experience, a constant struggle. But what I found out is that I find more peace and calmness around it today. I find that I try my best and I'm very vocal about it, especially towards my children. And one of my best mentors is actually my youngest girl. She's 14. And she helps me in telling me, Mom, now you're not in good balance. Mom, now you're a bit stressed. Mom, now you're not really listening even though you're here. And that gives me a good sort of temperature check on, hey, now I need to change the balance and I need to be more present again. The way I work with it is I'm very strict on my calendar. I have my children's birthday constantly blocked in my calendar. I try to avoid working over the weekends. And I even try also avoid working at night whenever I can. Of course, that's not always possible, but I try to avoid it. And my family know that. They can always call me if there's an issue, but they know that often there will be radio silence from me most of the time. But both parties know that means we are fine and I can concentrate on what I'm doing. And when I come home, then I have time for the family.
First of all, I told you I did many mistakes in life, right? I would like to confess one thing. My husband and I were so focused on my career, more than my career, that we postponed having children. And that is the biggest mistake that I did, because I was very fearful. If I have a child, I cannot pursue my dreams. And this is one thing that I share with as many women, not only women, also men. Okay, there are some things in life like that you have to do at the right time, and it's not going to become a barrier in your career journey. It is actually going to help you if you take the right decision at the right time. So this is all about prioritization. And you have to stand up for whatever you have prioritized. So this is where my mother, my father, my husband have helped me to get over those guilty periods, to translate it into something which is more meaningful.
For Mohua, setting boundaries was non-negotiable. She prioritized her time with her daughter from the start, making it clear that it came first. The result? She earned respect for her clear priorities. When you confidently own your priorities, others take notice and often they follow suit.
I'm pretty shameless. So, for example, I'll just start with when I had my daughter, because that's one thing which actually takes away a lot of our mind share, right? And I was in IT services where our days would start with Australia and with US, right? So it would be a long day. I traveled 3 times a month. But once I had my daughter, I knew that she's my priority at that point, and I made it very clear, no qualms. And many a times women think twice before they say that. I said that she goes to the daycare, I pick her up at 6 to 8 is her time. Once she goes to bed, I'll be back again connected and I will be ready for calls till whatever time. But those 2 hours until the earth is falling apart, do not call me. And I've seen this, that typically people are very respectful of that.
Let's explore a topic often shrouded in silence. What truly happens when a mother or a leader prioritizes her own well-being? It's a conversation sometimes deemed taboo, yet it's fundamentally essential. If you're not at your best, how can you possibly give your best to others?
I can tell you that one of the best advices I got early in my career from another woman who was training to become a coach. She asked me, do you ensure to have breaks to yourself? Do you ensure you really do something that brings up your energy levels and really gives you a personal break? And that has helped me to really figure out it's not enough just to say, yeah, but I have time with my family, etc. It's really, what do you do personally to regain energies? And I have taken up yoga. I do gymnastics. I like to go for a massage from time to time. And sometimes I even sit down on a cafe and have a silent coffee on my own.
As my job became more stressful, I would cook because it's my stress buster. I would say, if you go to the kitchen, all the ingredients is going to listen to you. You are under control on how the outcome is going to be. But trust me, the creativity there gives you time to think through.
The advisory board in the colleges, that actually gives me a flash of oxygen. I love to go spend some time with the students. I love to, but that actually, instead of more than taking away time, it actually gives me back more time because I come back so energized. When I do any short session with them, I come back and I feel better about myself. And similarly, my theater. Our rehearsals are usually on the weekends. Sometimes it's weeknights before our actual staging. Even if I am rehearsing at night and I go to bed at 2, I go back completely energized because you've forgotten about all the pressures of the day, all the pressures of work life. You're just playing someone else. And then after that, I feel I'm already ready to hit the next day.
It's rare enough to see a woman choose herself, but what's even rarer is seeing a partner who prioritizes her needs. The old adage that behind every successful man is a woman has evolved. Today, it's more appropriate to say that behind every successful person is a supportive partner.
I told my husband that I've got this opportunity of being a segment leader, which I could never dream of. And that means he had to take a sabbatical. That raised lots of questions in the family. But thanks to my husband, he has been super supportive. And again, like there was a point in life, I was at the top because I was living my dream. And extremely happy, things were going well because I had transitioned my daughter also. She was going to the school in the US. There was a day where I lost my father, my mother fell ill. So my poor husband said that since you're living your dream, I want to support you. I'll go back and then take care of the family. He did do that. Now, you're right. When you have to pursue your career, when you have a family, There you will face dichotomy many a times. By the way, I relate this to my role model, my mother. We have 3 children, and she did her double graduation after having 3 children. And she's the source of my energy. And after her retirement, she was with me. Both my parents were with me to support my family. And there are mistakes that I've made. Whenever I travel, I'll go buy expensive gifts to my daughter because that is one way of converting your guilt into something else. And I used to get shouted by my mother. She used to say, don't compensate by buying expensive gift because that is of no value. Whenever you're here, spend the time with her. Overall, I would say this has been a wonderful journey for me. Lot of learnings. I've learned from failures, and I'm blessed to have many people come to my rescue, mentors supporting me, challenging me to do the right things. And I have to say, I have the best family. My mother is a role model. My father, till he was there, he was the biggest supporter. I call my husband as the best critic, my biggest supporter, my best mentor. And my daughter, she's awesome.
I think we have a new hero, and it's Kala's husband. Their story isn't just about love, it's about trust, communication, and of course, unwavering support. Imagine sitting in a room full of male CEOs. Wouldn't it be nice to turn and see a woman at the table? Sisterhood in leadership is more than just symbolic, it's necessary.
I think still look around in the big pharma companies, there's very few female leaders in the C-suite. It's improved. We're becoming more diverse, but then also being inclusive and making sure we see women in all leadership layers, not only in the low leadership layers, but all the way up. And my core belief is one of the major reasons why we need that is we simply need to reflect society. And for instance, for the pharma industry, how do you expect if you have top layers that are only one gender, how do you expect that you can actually then solve these puzzles for society where it is a 50-50 split? I keep looking at this and I keep pushing for this, and we need to solve it. And then the day we've solved that, we can move on to solving so many other sort of discussions in terms of diversity towards other cultures, towards other sexual orientations, etc. But let's start out with the gender part.
The message is unmistakable. Diversity in healthcare still has a considerable distance to travel. While the entry-level landscape welcomes more women, true inclusivity requires their presence in the C-suite levels. Diversity transcends mere tokenism. It demands genuine representation across all the echelons of leadership. It's not about ticking a box. It's about real representation.
And by the way, I've come to a point where we all promote diversity, okay? But I'm very clear, okay? Diversity comes into picture only when the performances are equal. And I live that value on a daily basis.
The biases are still there. I'm sorry to disappoint everybody. No matter how high you get, the biases are still there. They're also on my side, of course. So I sometimes also need to be careful about my own biases. I have to really still select my battles. Now, I'm brought up in a family of 4 daughters. So we're used to, you need to speak up, you need to be there in your own right. And of course, women has the same right as men. My mom, she was very tough on that. And my dad, he supported it a lot. But when I then suddenly got into a workplace, I realized this is not how the world is. It's really a different sort of setup, and you really need to fight for your right. So in the beginning, I became very upset and I immediately went into fight mode. I was arguing my way through, and I realized that probably this is not really the way you should do it because it's very tiring. I really need to figure out, how do I frame it right? How do I really pick my arguments? And often I see I need to really back my arguments with clear data and clear analysis.
Lene realized early on that she needed to pick her battles. And she's got her own biases too. It was a good reminder that dealing with biases starts with understanding your own. You know that voice in your head, the one that can sometimes be overly critical, telling you that you can't do it? Mohua has a solution for that. She has made it her mission to remind her daughter and herself every day that you can do it all.
I think one thing we can all do for our daughters, we should tell them that you can do it all. And I think that had really made a difference for me. And I try doing that 100 times a day, sometimes annoying her to the core that you can do it all. You're the best. So that's one thing as mothers we can do.
Her approach to leadership is just as unique.
I'm a woman. Many a times you might hear that, oh, she's not aggressive enough. Yes, I'm not aggressive, but I'm assertive. But I have no qualms. I mingle with everybody across the organization. I have no qualms learning from everybody. I don't rush myself that I have to show that I'm the best or I'm great right away. So I take the time to understand the team, understand the people, and learn from them. And I also have seen that's the best way to learn something that I don't know.
Instead of rushing to make the changes and assert her influence, Mohua takes the time to learn from her team. And her advice? Sometimes slowing down is the fastest way to build trust. Everyone talks about wanting a mentor, right? The one person who can guide you, push you, and help you grow. But here's the thing. Great leaders don't just wait to find mentors, they seek them out.
Go to a person whom you are inspired, who is doing that role. So that is how I said, if I want to become a business leader, I have to move towards the R&D leader. In order to move towards that, there is no straight line, right? So I have to take up roles which is going to sharpen some of my skills, which I felt were lacking. And by the way, one more thing I realized, you have to always work on your strengths. You can never get your weakness to become your strength, okay? That is something I learned. And one more thing, you don't have to be complete only yourself. You have a team. You have to get the team members who are much better than yourself in different areas. Together, we are complete. That is something that I learned. So I was very clear. It was a structured approach towards progressing to be a business leader.
Lene believes that mentorship is a two-way street. It's about shaping the next generation of leaders and learning from them in return.
What is it they see as their core strengths, and what is it really they would like to develop? And then we take it from there, and I hope and I actually feel when I leave them that they've grown and they feel more confident and more balanced in their own core beliefs and own leadership style. So I take a lot of comfort in that, and I get very proud when I see some of these young women really growing, because I feel I could have done with one of the more experienced women leaders who had reached out for me and really helped me at that time.
Lene's approach creates a flywheel effect. Each leader she helps empowers others, driving a cycle of leadership that keeps gaining momentum. After all, we need more women leaders in the boardroom. And leaders like Lene are making sure that they won't be the last. Now, switching things around, we're getting into our rapid fire round. It's wisdom across generations from leaders who've been there and done that. Since this is a Woman in the Mirror podcast, the rapid fire is, if you had to look in the mirror and tell your 20 years old self something, what would it be?
It's okay. Everything is okay. Not everything will be good. There is good and bad. Enjoy the good, learn from the bad.
I would say relax. Your results will be seen, but make sure to get some good mentors.
Okay, just be fearless. If you listen to Bharatiyar, he says, Achhamillai, Achhamillai, Achame enbadillai. So don't fear. Go for it.
If you had to look in the mirror today and you had to tell yourself something, what would it be?
You have done well, lady. You've got a good home. You've got an okay career. Yeah, you are doing 20 different things.
I would say relax and enjoy the journey.
Today, I would say collaboration, inspirational leadership, inspire them, and pay it forward.
And if you had to sort of say, if it was not just a mirror, but a looking glass and you could see your future self, what would you tell yourself 10 years ahead?
Oh, age is just a number. Enjoy
Love.
it. Enjoy the next couple of decades, 3 decades, whatever it is.
I love it.
Learn. Always learn. There is no end to learning. It will keep you young.
Yeah, again, I would say relax. You did the best you could, and you managed in many instances to really balance it well. So well done, girl.
What would you say to a middle-level woman leader who's struggling between managing a family life, a career, and obviously self-doubt as well in the process?
Don't try to follow anybody, because everybody's life is different. But if another woman could have done it, you can do it too.
Don't wait for validation. Believe in yourself. Believe in your gut. Just be yourself and then go for it. Things will happen.
Yeah, I just saw yesterday in an article that women are not really embracing AI enough yet. And I think that's a bit of a worry to me. I'm not the fastest myself, but I am trying to embrace it. I think we can't, as women, lose out on that discussion and really knowing how it's used, how it's optimized, and what it can't do. So the tech savviness, we can't leave to anybody else. And we need to really show we are champions there as well.
And that brings us to the end of this episode of The Woman in the Mirror. A huge thank you to Lene, Mohua and Kala for joining us today. We've delved into healthcare, an industry that touches every one of our lives. It's been inspiring to hear how these remarkable women are balancing their ambitions, raising families, breaking barriers, acting as role models, all while shaping the future of health. Newton famously says, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." The best way to grow is to learn from those who've done it well. Stay tuned for more episodes of Women in the Mirror, where we continue to feature exceptional leaders who navigate these struggles and inspire us all. So until next time, I'm Nitika Goel, the CMO of Zinnov, and I hope all of you have learned to embrace the journey, lead authentically, and live life brave, bold, and of course, queen size.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Business Resilience Series. Stay tuned for more such interesting episodes. You can listen to our podcast on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast from. To know more about Zinnov, visit our website, www.zinnov.com, or drop us a note at info@zinnov.com. Follow us on Twitter @Zinnov for regular updates on our content. Thank you again for listening to the Business Resilience Series of the Zinnov Podcast.